they call it an encephalitic cry, that his brain was swelling and putting pressure, and that was what was causing it.
I said, I'm not really understanding how there's this like literal regression overnight, basically. Immediate reaction, but then losing the ability to talk, losing the ability to do things, like that's not normal. That's not normal.
And we took him home that day, and he slept for the better part of an entire day. 18, 20 hours. He woke up, he was banging his head against his crib. And that's how I went and got him. And at the time I really thought that, I'll just let him sleep. He needs to sleep it off. But, I couldn't have been more wrong. I should have stirred him.
So we watched him throughout the night, and his behavior continued. Within 2 days, he had completely stopped talking. And he was saying mommy, he was saying daddy, he knew his brother's name, he knew our pets' names, he knew juice, he knew all kinds of words. He stopped responding to his name. When we would call his name, it was nothing. He stopped following simple commands. Bring me your juice, go get your cup, go get this, go get that. He became very withdrawn. He didn't want to be around us as much. Now, I will say that I'm fortunate in that my son is affectionate towards me. And I know some people don't have that. And so I am grateful for that. But to watch your child, helplessly, and you can't do anything, you don't know what to do.
When my husband was done, he brought my son out and he was asleep. He'd never really slept that hard during the day. I think it was almost 2 days before he really woke up. He had kind of woken up a little bit to nurse, but then he would go right back to sleep, but then he would wake up again, and then that's when he started vomiting. It was the next day. So he had the hypotonic reaction, the shock and collapse, and then the colic and the diarrhea and the vomiting started within 24 hours. So they gave him everything else except for the Hep B on his 4 months, and he had the same reaction, and it was worse that time. So that's when we woke up and we stopped vaccinating. When my husband was done, he brought my son out and he was asleep. He'd never really slept that hard during the day. I think it was almost 2 days before he really woke up.
And so I did call the pediatrician's office, and I said, there's something happening. He's just acting strange. This is not like him. Of course, I was told it's normal. It's normal. I said, okay, if you guys are telling me it's normal, then I'm guessing this is normal. It's been almost, nearly a decade since I've had a child.
I called the pediatrician's office later that day asking them about it because my son wouldn't wake up. And they said, oh, he's just being good, sleeping through his shots. So he's a real champ, is what they told me.
And so I did report everything to the doctors, and I said, look, something happened. something happened, and they're assuring me nothing happened, it's not the vaccines, this appears to be autism. I said, I'm not really understanding how there's this like literal regression overnight, basically. Immediate reaction, but then losing the ability to talk, losing the ability to do things, like that's not normal. That's not normal.
So, yeah. They didn't tell us to come in, they didn't tell us to go to the ER or anything like that. And even when I was saying that he wouldn't wake up, they said that was no cause for concern. It was just normal.
Did you speak to a doctor about that?
I did ask them. They said that it must have been a coincidence. He probably had a virus, and that it would pass, and to give him Tylenol.
Parents are told time and time again by our doctors that it is normal to have reactions that are clearly encephalopathy or encephalitis. There are thousands of parents with these same stories. If doctors consider sleeping for 2 days following vaccination to be normal, it implies that they are seeing vaccine injury, in this case encephalopathy, regularly. So what becomes of our children who have these adverse events occur?
I gave Tylenol before the shots because, again, I just heard about the exemption. I didn't know about glutathione production and Tylenol and all of that. So we got him that shot, and he regressed very quickly. Banging his head on the floor, ripping his hair out, no eye contact, even if you were in the room speaking and you called his name, wouldn't look. Eating the fuzz off of his diapers, explosive diarrhea, or just not pooping at all. Just a number of things, anomalies. I don't even know what to call it, because none of that was present before. He was a very bright child. At 15 months, I would ask him to take something to the trash, and he could, systematically do those things, drop it in, said puppy, Bubba, Mama, Dada, but everything was lost. We lost him. He's still not come back to us, but
How old is he now?
he's 3. So it's been about 2 years.
By the time we got home, I saw a difference. His demeanor changed, his face, his eyes. There was an emptiness, a blankness to his eyes. This child who normally runs around and plays and very active was wallowing on the ground, rolling back and forth. Very withdrawn, didn't want me to touch him.
His 4 months shots, when he passed out again, and the vomiting and the diarrhea, everything got worse. He developed ptosis and strabismus, so the drooping eyelid and his eyes were not symmetrical anymore, and when he was born, he was perfect. Face super symmetrical. He was cooing. He was doing everything, just right on track. And then at 2 months, I think I didn't really notice like a major difference in his development, but at 4 months it was very obvious, and he stopped cooing and making noises, and his eyes really concerned me, but his diarrhea was just non-stop. So it seemed like he was always in pain. I tried to adjust my diet because they said maybe he was allergic to my breast milk, and it was just he would nurse, he would vomit, I would nurse him again, he would vomit again, I would nurse him again. It was just this non-stop nightmare, and people had suggested to give him formula or to give him anything to help his stool that I don't know what those drops are for his stomach, but we tried everything.
I don't understand where the disconnect is. I don't understand why they are incapable of researching for themselves. And the last conversation that I had with that doctor's office, I said, I encourage you. You're responsible. And if I were a doctor and I were treating kids and I had any doubt at all in my mind, I would do what I had to do to find out, because if not, their blood is on your hands. If you do nothing at all, if you're able to go home and sleep tonight after hearing me talk to you about this, and you don't take the time to look for yourself, I just think that's sad, because people trust you.
I mean, most medical school curriculums, even nursing curriculums, I mean, in medical school, you're lucky if you have a half day on vaccines, never mind keeping up to date with all this.